So I'm going to pass that around. Have you all used this material before? Yeah. Here, let's your hands are like steel anyway. Yeah. So this is going to be interactive. So if you have questions or just fire them into me. For those that don't know, I'm Jeff Miotke. I'm an aquascaper. I'm also a Wasson ambassador for North America. One of them, Jen Williams, the other, and we have George Farmer in Europe. And they brought us here, John and myself, to scape this tank out. And I don't really have a firm idea of what's going to happen. So if you all want to have input, let me know. I'm open to advice. So if something looks great, thumbs up, happy, smiley faces. If you don't like something, give me one of these. Don't do this. It really crushes the confidence and creativity when you see this. And yeah, so we're going to get going. We're going to make this probably pretty quick. Brian, how complicated, complex do you want this? Do you want this over the top, easy? Do you want it more easily maintainable?
I like the ease of maintaining.
Okay.
Right now.
All right. So versus crazy contest skates I put together versus.
Well,
we're gonna go right in the middle.
Let's ask the man who's going to take care of it. There you go.
So this is crazy as you want. This is Carter. He is the product specialist here, and yeah, he's like a little inch of leeway, so. But someone measure the thickness of his hand. We'll use that as our gauge. So let's get started. What do you think we should do to? Oh, John, I'm so sorry. It's gonna work out. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Hey, check out this, and I just walk away. So where would you all start normally? What's the first thing you would do building this? Hardscape? That's a good answer. That's where I start usually too, is hardscape. And why do I do that? Why do I use hardscape first tank? Because then you will rest on the bottom instead of the soil. The soil, once it's wet, will tend to shift. Things will move around, and it won't be stable. So I like to build the hardscape up first and then backfill it with the substrate. Yeah. And then also the aqua soil that we're going to use today. We're going to use aqua soil here. Are you also going to use aqua soils? Yeah, so we use aqua. This is a fine grained product. It's smashed pretty easily under these heavy stones. We don't want to smash this. We're purposely spending all this money to get it pelletized. We don't want to unpelletize, right? We don't want to. So that's why hardscape and then good. So so stone, should we start with stone and then applet or wood stone? Wood first. Okay. Wood first. I wear gloves when working with some of these materials, not all of them, but this stone is sharp. It is lava stone, and there's a break where it hasn't been tumbled and naturalized, weathered. If there's a break, that can be very, very sharp and cut your hand. And then if you have a cut hand, you're putting it into aquariums, you can run into bacterial infection. So that's why I put gloves. I don't like it. It's all I'm trying to say. All right. So thankfully it gives me a ladder. This tank is really nice because it's high, so we can view it from standing position. But it also makes it a little bit challenging to first build. Yeah. So looking at the ladder. So when we place the wood, what do we look? So we have this really cool piece of wood, right? So I'm going to rotate it and let's look at the characteristics of wood from all angles. Holes, craziness like this, where there's branches coming off. Look how neat this is, where this is weathered out, right? Where the softer material is rotted away. So there's a lot of character to this. And then also look at the flow. So immediately recognize flow in this piece. You can see that everything's kind of in this direction. And we're going to use that in design. So it lends itself to us. The other thing I look at is how I can get it stable. Do I put it in like this? This looks like it'd be pretty stable. Sometimes that's not what we want. We want tension. And we want to make it off kilter, like it couldn't possibly be that way, but somehow it did. So it all comes down to our creative choices, right? So we could go either way. We could make it calm feeling and relaxing, or we could go and make it suspenseful. And if I walked under that, it would crush me, like poor fish, right? So we'll look at that. And what I do is I'll put it in the tank. We have a couple pieces of equipment in here. And what we can use this piece to block the view of that 50 protocol. So we can go something like this. Or we can tip it forward. What this allows us to do is get shadowed areas. Right? So this top, well fits. This bottom is not shadowed. Because it's
How's the audio, Mr. Russell? Can you hear pretty good?
These are the things that are running through my head as I'm reading cards to people. So we can rotate this. And now what we've done is we've brought the big trunk closer to the front glass, and the smaller pieces are towards the back. Now this starts playing into creating a feeling of depth just by rotating the piece. Whereas if we had like this, these thinner pieces are in the front, bigger pieces in the back, and that's okay too. I prefer something with more impression, initial impression. So I like this more. What do you all think? Something like this?
I like it.
See where this goes. This guy's crazy. Yeah, so what we do is we'll line this up. And obviously, it's not going to stay right. If I let this go, it's going to fall. It's not going to stay. Lean it against the glass, but then Carter's going to be mad at me. Yeah, sorry, Dad. Yeah, need your hand. Seriously. So we're going to figure out how much space we need from the front glass. So I want you to put your hand right here. And go right here. We come closer.
Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If
So
if you're in the chat, can I get an audio check?
We're going to get more shadow. It's going to be more dramatic. But if we get closer, more difficult to maintain. You get your magnet. You have to try to treating glass, all that. So we want to figure out where that is compromised between shadow and how dramatic it is versus maintaining it. Because if we don't maintain it, it's not going to look impressive. It's really, aware of what we're doing. We'll place these pieces. And he's go with a shaking side he bites it. So look at that. Yeah, I agree. That looks really good. Now, what's the other thing? If we place this here, we're getting this nice flow of lines here. And we can't see the intake pipe from the front. Do you see the intake pipe? No one, yeah, let the record show everyone's shaking their head no. So, yeah, I think we fixed it here. We'll use stones to prop this up. Yeah. All right, Carter, where do you want it? Stone. What do y'all think of this stone? by stone. I took it. So when we look at the stone, and we do the same thing that we did with the wood, and really figure out, like right here, we don't want that visible. That's obviously a man-made break. We don't want that. Here's another part of it. We don't want that. So we can see the rest of this stone looks pretty nice, but look at this. That's cool, right? So we really want to feature that if we can. This is a line. The wood has flow lines, obviously. So what we'll do, we'll match them up. Yeah, and it'll give a sense without being too obvious. There's this nice flow. Okay, so we can go into. So this piece, we'll have to make sure it's buried in substrate or plants or wood or whatever. And of course, normally I would put towel. I would put a towel right down inside of this to protect the glass. Because after you do this long enough, you will scratch the glass. Something will slip, something will roll, it will hit the glass, it will take a divot, it will scratch it, it will cry. So obviously we don't want to do that during demonstration because then it's like a magic act. Poof, it's laid out. So you don't want to block this from this. Okay, so that's our first buy-in. How are we doing? We put 2 pieces in the tank. How much of the tank would you say is full?
30%.
Lot, right? I'd say probably 20% of the volume is full at this point. Yeah. Now that big stone, that might be too big. It's a little clunky, right? A little wonky. It's a little too big. So I think we should use a little bit more finesse. We're going to take that stone out. So, well, one of the things to do this, you can push it to the back to build up height, and then get more sense of depth. A lot of the stones are lost to substrate. I don't see as much, but it'll help build structure.
Yeah, they don't hear me, so yeah, but that was good that you played that. That'll Hey, Jeff, Ryan had mentioned if anyone has any questions in the comments, feel free to ask. So if you want to relay that verbally.
So everyone on the live stream, do you have any questions for me? John, relay them. Yeah. Where was it? Thanks. Oh, yeah. Room around it. Right. Clean it, put it back in.
Hey, Jeff, there's a question.
Yeah.
keep such patience when scaping? LOL.
Patience while skating. That's an interesting question, right? The reason I'm skating is because I enjoy it and I don't feel any stress. Even doing it in front of y'all, I don't feel any stress. It's just working on it. It's not about me, it's about it, right? It's about the creation that we're going to make. It's not scary. So that answers it. Everyone's eyes are head. So, good question. Who asked that question? Cool.
Yep.
Thank you, Deli Aquatics. Good question. So the question is, how will I prevent that piece of wood from floating? Because it is going to be very weight, right? As soon as we fill it, it's going to go straight up to the top. We're going to use wood. We have these big, heavy stones at the bottom. I'm going to glue that piece of wood to those stones. If I were at home, I may soak this piece for a month before I use it. That'll get rid of dirt, tannins, a lot of the tannins, fungus growth, all that kind of stuff, and waterlogging. So you can do it either way. With doing these demonstrations live and the conventions and all that, I use glue because we don't have the luxury to pre-soak. If I prefer pre-soak, there's so many benefits. Part of it have to deal with, right? Not a problem. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to just scape what I'm doing. Watch it. Yeah, that's a lot better in the front. That's a lot less chunky. It doesn't block our view. What we don't want to do when we scape a tank is create walls. We want to invite people to look at our piece of art, our creation. So if I came in here, I just this. I created a barrier, a wall. It's a visual barrier. I mean, it's actually physically a wall, right? That's how we build walls. It's throw some mortar in between those joints and stack it up, right? We don't want to do that. We want it to be visually open. Brings your eye right into it. It's okay to start building up maybe the corners and that, but you want to leave this front more open. You can have objects in there if you have objects of interest or you're trying to build skill. There's creativity that can be still done, but don't build that wall. That monolithic wall. Right? Good. Very uninvited. Yeah. Get off my grass. Right? Stay off. So we're not gonna
Jeff, give a question. Skating often takes multiple days and allows substrate to sit controversy over whether or not to allow soil to dry out.
All right, so the question is, do you leave aqua soil open to the air? So we open our bag of aqua soil here. How long it's moist? It's moist in the bag. You can take it, you can crush it. If we left it out for a day and we tried to crush it, it'd be really hard. You need like a hammer to crush it. So is that okay? It's okay. As soon as you put water back on it, it'll be yeah, do it all the time. Not an issue. Good question.
Deli Aquatics again.
Deli Aquatics.
And we have another one from James Nature Aquatics.
I have a team Nature Aquatics.
How important is the golden ratio or rule of thirds?
Okay, so the question is, how important are some of these rules and guidelines we hear of aquascaping, which come really from the artistic world? Photography, foremost, the rule of thirds. Does everyone know what rule of thirds is? No one's shaking their head, but let me just go over it quick. Rule of thirds is if we divide this tank in thirds this way, and we divide this tank thirds this way, we would have 4 intersection points, and we would use that as our goal. So we put our point of interest there on that rule of third. The golden ratio is similar. It is using, I think it's someone correct me if I'm wrong, it's the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, Fibonacci.
Yeah, Fibonacci, thank you. Sequence, and it's more elaborate artistic principle than both are. It's relatively the same, but it's basically the golden spiral. You go like this. If you look at a snail shell, it's a perfect example of that, where you see this spiral coming in like this, tighter and tighter and tighter. Yeah, so we could do the same thing and draw that on our tank glass, and we could follow that. Where that spiral ended here will be our main focal. Yeah, so you would have your most interest, your most dense aquas, their layout materials here at that focal point. Now, how do I feel about those? I think they're a good start. I think we just starting out, absolutely use them. And as you progress, you'll find that it limits you because you're using natural materials. Like this piece of wood, it might not line up on the snail shell, right? So don't let it deter you. They're just guidelines. Guidelines or rules. Rules are meant to be broken. Yeah. So that's where I stand on that. That's a great question. Thanks, James.
Do you have a specific aquascaping style that you like to do?
The question is, do I have a specific aquascaping style that I like to do? And the answer is difficult. I have an aesthetic that keeps coming out in my creations. So if someone looks at my work, they probably can see my influence on it, but they run the gamut of style. You know, you name the style, and I've probably entered in competitions. I don't like it for the mistakes. I try to not play favorite. I go to, but I try to not lean on favorites. Try to mix it up. I try to do something different. I've done this already. I want to do something new. New.
Have you done any natural biotope style aquascapes?
Doesn't interest me as much as having no limitations. As soon as you start talking about biotopes, what does that mean? Limitations. It has to be that ecosystem, right? That bio. And outside that, it's not allowed, right? Or it's frowned upon. You can do it, but it's discouraged.
Yeah.
So no, I don't do it for that reason, because why do I do this in the first place? It's fun. And I don't want more rules. Right? Who wants rules? I don't want them. Yeah.
Jelly Bunny asked the question about if you ever biofilm. So want to ask.
So yeah, so we got that if I create a biotope question, both live and live. So yeah, Jelly, let me know if that answers the question. I personally don't care for it. Now, I have nothing against doing biotope like it's like kind of Dutch style, that kind of thing. I'm all for it. But as far as okay, so this is the Awaza. So the question is, what is this that we're looking at? This tank, the lid, captain. So this is the Awaza Highline 175. 175 liter tank. It has a built-in lid, so the fish won't jump. There is a light veil, so the lights come with this setup. That's here. We have two of them here. Slide back and forth. You know, easily I'm sliding back and forth for maintenance and building this out. So it's really cool. I have my lights on here, not worrying about drop, which yeah, and then we have this run here, so we can run the cords. Actually, these cords need to be run into the dry chase. I don't know if set this up, but we'll correct that. We'll run the cords inside the tank, so they're not visible on the outside, right? So it's really clean, and then all the filtration too is all built into this, so that you don't see the tubing and all that. But they can be yolk. Wow. Yeah. So less talking, more escaping. That's a clean sheet.
Yeah.
I talk and I talk and I talk, and this is what happens. Nothing. Yeah, less talking, more escaping. Get into it. So what we're going to do with the we're going to do. I don't know how many minutes are we on the live stream. 30 minutes. Yeah, that's a long time. I appreciate y'all. And instead of watching this whole process, because I'm probably going to be here for another 2 hours, we're going to do a little reconvene on live stream while we all have some snacks and drinks here and watch me actually escape and not talk. And we'll pop up that live stream. What do you think? 2 hours? Let's do 1 hour. That's okay. You want your pizza. So my cameraman.
If you're watching my live stream, I'm gonna keep it going.
Let's do 1.5 hours. 1.5 hours. So what time is it now? 12:30. We'll reconvene at 2. Join us, and we'll show you where we're at. We'll finish this off, answer any more questions you all have, and yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Thanks, y'all. So, I get 101. So, who all likes how this is headed?
Looks good.
Sorry, y'all. It's just out here.
Featured in.
You're gonna write a caption,
Can I move this right here?
and then tag
Am
me, Jen.
No, you're fine. Bud. How you doing? I'm Ken. Hey, I'm Ryan. I spoke to you on Facebook. I believe. Yeah.
We local?
Yes. Yeah.
Filter and salt water.
We got fresh water, little plants. CO2.
So we have drinks. I don't know how long y'all can stick around. But we do. John. Get that down.
Probably like 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah. I'm assuming I know who you are.
Yes. Yeah. I spoke to you on Facebook, I believe.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
It's fun. So we're live streaming here.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. This is my smallest audience yet. This is as intimate as it gets.
Yeah. I was really hoping it wasn't going to be canceled because of the snowstorm again. But this is upstate New York.
I think if I had known, I would have postponed again. Yeah. This is
So it was good that we kept it from you, huh?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I grew up in Milwaukee, so I'm no stranger to snow, but I'd rather not.
I'm gonna get you guys up close here. Bear with me.
Jeff Miotke wants that. Like what?
So we'll do a little tour for you guys. Wow. There was the second. Yes. This is some of their saltwater coral selection. Mm, how's everybody doing today?
Are they?
The fish food selections here. Yeah, using the Polyp Lab orange lens. This lens here blocks out the blue light. You can see the difference. Oh yeah. If you're in the chat, thanks for joining. Selection of tanks for sale. Salados.
Just like we do to last.
This here is Felix, the Bahaka puffer. This is their store mascot. It's not for sale. And this is something I really like. Here's aquascaping dojo. You can use this, pick out some of your hardscape materials, which they have an abundance of, And you kind of lay them out here. Get an idea of a layout that you want to do for your aquarium and stuff, and play with some of the rocks, and then buy the things that you want to get. Beautiful pieces of wood. This is my favorite right here. That might have to come home with me. This is all, I believe this is all eucalyptus wood up here on the top, except for this one, spider wood. Some more smaller pieces of eucalyptus root. Beautiful rainbow fish in here. You know, Mother Nature is to love her smallest creations. Or various tanks. I believe these are, maybe not. I thought they were used tanks, but maybe not. These are Pashy Foods on clearance. Might have to look through those. This guy is absolutely massive, probably 14 inches. Another one probably just as big. I love the patterning on this Oscar here. Ooh, some shell dwellers. These guys are pretty cool.
Who's my last?
Because that's if you want more public consultation.
That's all.
You started.
Yeah.
There, so that'll prevent it from floating and it'll also keep the angle. And if you snap it off when you're doing maintenance, when you're in there and you actually bump this, and if you do snap it off the stones, you'll probably only break one of the mounts. So you can drain it back down and reglue it. Or because it'll probably waterlogged by then, you could just make it propped up.
Drop it in there.
Yeah. You know,
That-
there's enough points in there where it'll stay when it's waterlogged. Yep. And once the soil is in there, it'll really solidify.
Yeah.
A little shade. Once we backfill it, it'll be soft.
Got a quick question for you.
Shoot.
Well, it's not in your class, not even close. I'm like, when I get a piece of driftwood and I start figuring out how I'm gonna put it in the frame, part of my decision is like, all right, it's got an interesting crease, I can glue in some anubis.
Yeah.
Java from one, does that end
You know,
up your?
that's interesting because I do the opposite. I see a really flat boring piece and I cover that with plants.
Okay,
And I leave the crevice because it's cool looking. So I do it the opposite way.
I'm just thinking it's a good place to put something and trying to get it to catch.
That's what you're thinking. It's
Yeah.
easy.
Keep it simple, stupid, that's my motto.
And that's okay. You can do that.
It's like roasting
And it's
pigs.
nothing
Everybody
wrong
says
with
how you roast a pig. I said, fire around the pig
So-
lip, fire around the pig pad.
Yes. So
How do you know everything about roasting a pig?
I don't want to put anything in here or in this crevice. This is even kind of cool right here. So there might be anything there. But some of these flat areas, you know, like here and here, they're maybe begging for something. This wood is so much character on this wood. Like this area right here is really flat.
If that's for a building tip, let me know.
Easily I could see this planted right here.
A lot of Java moss on there would look nice.
Moss, yeah, moss. And that adds to the maintenance. So moss is mess.
He's got time.
He's good. So yeah, moss is messy.
Moss
So if
is
you want to
definitely a
no
bit of a pain.
maintenance, stay with moss.
Yeah.
Good point.
You can moss if you have to, but I mean, wouldn't be upset if you skipped the moss. Gets on everything.
So you're not gonna fill this tank with duckweed?
Tearing it down.
So I don't like these pieces in this layout. I don't like these. And it's because we're working with this flow in a relatively small dimension here. So to have these coming across, it really breaks it visually.
Yeah.
In our concept from the beginning was to work with this flow. And these break the flow. I'm gonna put these back. Let's see if I can find it.
Just don't take the big one up in the corner.
Sorry, you like the most ridiculous test here. Appreciate your help.
Let's do that.
This, well, yeah. See how hard I knocked that?
I
That's a good sign.
was gonna ask you if you do the tap test when you're doing your aquascapes.
I'm not aware of the time.
Yeah, when you set up hardscape stone and stuff, you give it a good solid
Wiggle.
tap.
I do
Yeah,
the wiggle test.
the wiggle test. Yeah.
Because the glue, epoxy's glue, if you give it a sharp wrap, it breaks the connection. It breaks the joint.
Okay.
Wiggling won't break it. This will break it.
Yeah.
So when I take apart an aquascape that I've used glue on, that's what I do. Yeah. So wiggle test.
Okay.
Is it there? If I come back with a brush and brush algae off, is it going to wiggle? If it wiggles, it's gonna be solidified. And I solidify all the hardscape. All gonna be solid. So I can come back and get at it aggressively in case I have setback. Because I get algae outbreaks like everybody else. It happens. I've got one at home right now. I'm traveling. I'm not doing water changes. Come home and I got algae. It happens. So you got to prepare for it. Prepare for it, and you get to right about it. Because it's right. Yeah. Both sides.
So we'll take a look at where we're at right now. Hi, Mary Page. How you doing? Thanks for joining the live stream. So this is the stone that they're using. This is a lava stone.
You know, part of it's only one felt like
So it was like this.
Yeah, broke it off so it fits better. Now, do you like to take multiple pieces of wood and try to make them look like one cohesive piece?
Yes, I am all for tools.
Yeah.
Tooling the wood, you're never going to find the piece that fits the tank perfectly, unless you have Benson's Fisher.
Yeah.
That's a BEN. So yeah, I like to modify the pieces I have. I will take the most gorgeous pieces you've ever seen, and they're like artwork on their own, and I'll take a saw, a drill, a rotary tool, clippers, loppers, you
Yeah.
name it, anything to remove material, I'll do it. I'm not afraid.
Make that Jeff Miotke, not afraid.
I ain't scared.
They call that Miyakeisms on my friends. I've got a dozen. I need to start writing them down and then making shirts. Yeah, right? That would be cool. Okay, so I don't like that. You'll see this piece I just added right here. I don't like it. And I'll tell you why. Because it had this nice arch wood effect, and I've minimized that by putting a stone there. So I took this nice thing and I added too much. So I'm going to take it out, and you'll see what I mean. See it?
Yeah.
It's a cool feature.
Yeah,
So
gives
I
it
put
a
that
gives it a
stone
little negative space, like a little
in
cave.
Space, it's a depth. And if I put this in here, what am I creating? I fill in the space and create a wall. You know, but I want to put aqua soil behind and sand in front. So if I sand all this underneath, I can keep it real thin and it'll look really cool. And it'll also give it a bright impression because it'll be under the shadow, it'll still be visible. So we're going to make that sand area, but right behind that piece of wood, I want aqua soil to where we can plant it. So we're going to try some small stones. Do we have any black sponge? Like you would use for like man filters or sponge filters or inserts to,
Yeah, I think so.
it's got to be flat.
Yeah.
We can cut it.
Flat, thickness, matter.
Just enough to be stable, like that thick. See what we can find. Yeah.
Have you done any aquascaping with dirted tanks?
Have I done aquascaping with dirted tanks? Yeah, yes, no.
Yeah.
Yes, I've tried it. No, I've never escaped them because they end up in a huge mess.
Gotcha.
For what I do, the way I lay these out, aqua soil is key because it allows me to make changes on the fly. If I dirt it, I have to make it all even and then place things on it, right? And that's it. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
I can't touch it. If you've ever seen any of my videos or my shares of how my aquascape evolves, so I'll build something and that's not how it'll end up. So it'll look completely different by the time I'm done. And what it allows me to do with the aqua soil is I can siphon out an area, redo that area, and then dry that aqua soil up on the driveway in the hot Atlanta sun. Takes about half an hour, and then I can put it back in the tank and then fill it back up. So it allows me to do what I call wet rescapes. So aqua soil for me is key. Dirty tanks work, but you don't have that flexibility. So to me, losing that flexibility, it's not worth it. Plus, you can have success with the dirt tank. You can have some abysmal failures.
Oh yeah.
And really, especially for folks just starting out, reproducibility, being able to have success. The majority of people who use aqua are going to have success versus a dirty tank. The majority of people may not have success. So repeatability, reproducibility, stability, all of these things matter, right? When we're talking about all hobbyists. I have no idea what that is.
The black sponge.
Oh, that's for filters. That's fun. It's gone. You can see where my mind is. It's gone. Because John hasn't fed me yet.
It's coming.
There we go. Okay, so this is perfect. This is Pond Master. And what it'll allow me to do is cut a piece that I'm going to insert back here. And because that area is in shadows, once we plant it and it's done, you have to look really closely to see that it's going to be black spot. That's why I asked for black. Won't work with white. Like a lot of times you'll see aquascapers will backfill the stones and that between sand and aqua soil with filter cloths, white filter cloths. That would look terrible, right? So this is what I use instead of white filter cloths. These days, I've used filter cloths and they look terrible. So I switched. You also will see for this, they're really prepared. You will also see, where was I going? Get tired. It'll hit me. Move on.
Moving on.
Oh, yeah. See, you will also see me use it on the sides. I could put it on the side so I could have a strip of this on the side and then build up stone along there. This protects the glass and then creates a perfect edge. So the stones will push in on this side and this will be flat against the glass. And it'll create this perfect line along the edge of the tank. And I usually put it right up front here in the strip here and then build up a stone structure, just like a pillar to frame the aquascape. So like this one's not framed. This is one I would call more nature aquarium. This is, you know, my interpretation of nature. Something you would see if you went down into the woods or the streams, right? You could see this. There's another style called diorama or georama. And what it's doing is trying to take in a big landscape layout. Like if you took a wide angle photo of something and then reproduce it. So you have like little trees going back into the horizon, the little lake back there. They use mirrors to replicate that. And they have to
Using like the white sand path.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
sand paths you see winding through there. That's called georama. And it's very cool. I have nothing against georama. This is what you can use to create a georama effect, because what you do is you frame the tank in here, and then you pick a horizon line, and that'll be the back soil line. And that's how you get that effect. So it's like looking through a picture window. So it frames it, gives you a sense of scale and perspective because that's right up front. And then everything else behind it is using perspective techniques to make it feel like it goes for a mile, right? So this is, what is it, 18 inches front to back? This is, I think, 18 inches front to back. That's not very far, right? How can we make that look like a mile with natural materials? That's how you frame it. Frame it, and then there's about 7 other techniques using shadow and light,
Scale.
scale, big, small. If everything's big, you can't tell it's big. It could be all small. It could be all big. You don't know. But if you have small and big, then you have relative ability to tell. Which is like if we put all stones in this size, we couldn't tell that it's a big stone versus, you know, we had this small stone here, we could see the gradation. So our mind understands these things, though we're not thinking about them. The eye can be tricked because the mind already is filling in the blanks. Yeah. So back to this. Yeah. I missed the comment.
Arms hurting. You get an arm right now.
I told him he could just do a few minutes at a time. Yeah, I mean, literally, you should be shooting like 15, 20 seconds and stopping.
Well, he's getting your whole answer to questions.
Yeah, because it's audio. Audio.
I thought you turned it back on.
I'm saving it for live stream. I don't want to run out of battery.
Well, it has the audio on the side there. It's on.
The battery. No one's gonna watch this. You have to be I know this from experience. I used to record everything it said because it's gold nuggets, right? It's so focused. Nobody watched it, maybe a few hundred people. And it took so much effort to capture. But what people are really interested in is seeing a process, snippets of it, and the final thing. Y'all understand. Who does social media? Instagram. Follow me at Jeff Miotke. Miotke. I'll be looking for it. 3 followers.
I think I'm one of them.
You're one of them.
Now, are you using that as a barrier for the aqua soil in the back as well?
That's exactly. Very stone snag the sponge. Normally, when I use serious stone, you smooth it. It would just slide into place. You just hear this ripping. Crap, remove.
Ever used cigarette butts?
Oh, please. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic thing to bring up. Yeah, so let me finish this. Hold that thought. Yeah, that's a great
I'll
point.
do it on the show.
Yeah,
You guys still have them back.
please. Okay, I think that's about good. I'm gonna get it in there. So we're gonna use the scissors to cut away some. Did anyone see where I put the scissors? Here's that. Thank you. So apparently these are not the sharpest scissors.
I think he gave you dull scissors just to watch you struggle.
That's. Oh. Oh, but yeah, I want the scissors. I don't know what I was using before. Get in there. No, I was talking sponge. Alright. So what do y'all think? Is that gonna be invisible? Close.
I think everything else around it will distract your eye from it.
Moving definitely a dark spot. So what I'm doing now is a gap. If I don't fill that gap, so it'll just rush out. So aquascaping sure can be a workout. Hey, what's the ETA on the food?
Ordered about 20 minutes ago.
So what's the ETA on the food? Oh, it's like island time. 10 minutes, Mom. 10 minutes. Yeah. 10 minutes.
Water or soda?
I got a water here. That's what I have. They're feeding me water.
Yeah, I can grab some for you.
Yeah, water. Thank you.
Okay.
Didn't see him last night when I told him an hour for dinner.
What did I say?
Oh, I got
That's not what I said. You cleaned it up.
I wonder if their hunger level has been.
It started off right there.
Oh, yeah. Something got really close to taking out. Oh, on the wood, yeah, when I start chewing on the wood, I'm in trouble.
I've got one here. Thank you. In fact, I need to drink it. Otherwise, it does me no good. Are you all enjoying this?
Yes.
Like watching the YouTube video live.
Okay, what are you doing? Leave me alone, I'm on YouTube.
Yeah.
Turn and come off slides, get out of here.
You learned anything?
Yes.
You can do this.
Yeah.
Yes. 3. Yeah. Get that a lot.
So my buckle's tear apart.
I will.
It's only because you're showing us how to.
Yeah, so this is what happens. You see how it's done, and it looks pretty straightforward. It's fully explained. At least when I explain it, I try to fully explain it. And you can see, I'm just working it, right? I didn't know what I was going to come up with on this. I'm just working it, and what looks good, stays. What doesn't look good, goes out. I try something else. And it's just trial and error. And what happens is every time you do this, you get better. And I've been doing this over and over and over for 10 years that I can do it on the fly while explaining it, in front of clients. It's just practice. And the thing is, my execution levels, my techniques that I use, the order I do it, and the lines I'm looking at, I'm operating it. Don't have to do that to enjoy it. Everyone can get to that level. I'm not talented. I had my first tanks. If I showed them to you, you'd be like, "Yeah, that's garbage." So me, I just don't know. But it's so good. That one question: how do you have patience? Patience. I'm just not being in a rush. Don't worry about the results. Do what looks good to you. It's art. So you know what? Art is always polarizing. Some people are gonna love it. Some people are gonna hate it. Some people are gonna be
Art is subjective.
subjective. It's a contest. It's subjective. So when I get a rank that's out of the norm, normally I'm in the top 3%. Like it went outside there. Like, that one didn't land, or I had issues at the time. Take it off and you check. I don't care. I do it for me first, and then I do it for you and me. Because I love to talk to y'all, meet y'all, and do this. That's what it's all about. It's just having fun, hanging out, right? So what I try to do is just help everyone with execution. You can enjoy it a little bit more, not run into some of these things that I've run into over the years that maybe frustrate. Accelerate your level of learning. That's all.
I think for me, that when I'm doing an aquascape, the key for me is not to try to make it perfect, because nature isn't perfect, and if you worry about too much perfection,
I was going to show you my wabi I had it yesterday. Wabi sabi.
yeah,
Have you heard of this? Wabi sabi?
Yep.
What does it mean?
okay, I forget now.
So it's a Japanese concept. It's difficult to translate into English, I've been told. I have Japanese friends that speak English and talk about wabi sabi and say you have to understand it's a feeling. It's like trying to describe it. And it is basically rudimentary in English. It is imperfect beauty. So kind of like imperfect perfection.
Yeah.
Nature is perfect on its own. So it's
It
a
is.
feeling of wildness, but harmonious.
Like there's
So it's
beauty in
wabi-sabi. Yeah, so it's hard for them to put it in words. Just give us English speaking folks.
Yeah.
Wabi-sabi. And that's what you're bringing up, that feeling of wabi-sabi. And I actually, if I have any technique underlying or style, back to your style question, underlying all of my artscapes, you'll see this concept of wabi-sabi in it, where some of it is just perfect, beyond what nature could do, and then other parts are wild. And it just all blends together and gives you that. It's cool. It's very cool. It's very fun to play. So, and then it's like anything. So practice. This hobby, it's easy to pick up, easy to start, easy to enjoy. Very. I was uncomfortable when people started calling me master. And I was taking it from a little teacher. So and it just, at first I was uncomfortable, and then everyone just kept calling me that. I just lowered it. If I can help folks do it, it's great, because I see the flaws. Every time I make something, I see the flaws. I see, oh, that could have been better. I should have done this, and I did that. I look back at my photographs from the past, like, wow, I really messed that part up. I wish I could have a redo. That's just how it is. And you just move on, you just learn from it, and go throughout. So that's kind of my philosophy. Fun is the first thing. Being fun, what are we doing? Right? And then we get all the benefits, all the health benefits. They've done studies. That's why they put these in hospitals. You sit down in front of an aquarium, your heart rate, your blood pressure, heart rate will instantly go down. They've scientifically proven this. That's why you see these in hospitals, doctors, dentist offices. So it's good for your health to have an aquarium. That's the fish room. Plaza. Aquariums are good for your health.
You heard it here first.
John's living proof.
Stuck at home. I hang out there.
Yeah, I stop here on the way home from work a lot just to walk around and look at the fish and kind of decompress from the long day of work. And then I go home and look at my own tanks.
Just me, one bedroom, one studio for my guitar and stuff like that, and the other was a fish room. In the middle of the fish room was a lazy boy or a swivel. And all you do is get one little kick, and you can swivel for about 3 revolutions and see all the fish rooms.
I have a sectional in my fish room in the basement.
cars went away, the fish tanks went away. I don't know what Matt's doing.
Vision is.
Yeah.
Very good. So it's probably it's
Okay, so we're gonna end the live stream for now and be back in a little bit to show you where we're at with the aquascaping. Thanks for coming, and we'll be back.